Good morning, it's me, Zoe, and welcome to your 10-minute full body yoga stretch. Find your space, let's get into it. We'll start today's practice lying on our backs. Bring the soles of your feet together, knees fall apart, and gently lay your torso down on the mat. Reclined butterfly pose or Supta Baddha Konasana is a really lovely way to open our hip gently in the morning. Place one hand on your heart space and the other on your belly. Soften your thigh area and your glutes. Have your chin tucked so the spine is nice and long. Just taking a few breaths here to settle into our practice today. Maybe you'd like to set an intention for the practice and your day. You've already decided to begin today with some self-care, doing something for yourself, which is amazing. And just take a moment to think about anything else you need today and how you need to show up in order to provide that for yourself. Take a deep breath in, stretch your arms up overhead and the feet down away from you. And bringing your knees in towards you, give yourself a little squeezy hug. Bumping your hips over to the right slightly will let your knees fall over to the left. Grounding down in the right shoulder so you're twisting into the back. Inhale to float the knees back up to center, this time bumping the hips over to the left and letting your knees drop over to the right. So think about stacking your hips here so they're one on top of the other. And again, grounding down in the left shoulder this time. And on an inhale, bring your feet back up to center, grabbing the backs of your thighs. We'll do some rock and rolls, inhaling on the way up and exhaling down. And on your last one, crossing over the ankles, coming into a neutral tabletop pose, wrists under shoulders and knees underneath your hips. Stretching the right foot out, press through the heel on the tippy toes. Now let's roll onto the inner edge of our right foot and send the fingertips up towards the sky. Really reaching up here to open the chest. Circle the right arm down to the floor, followed by rolling the right hip down. Keep the foot and the heel lifted, kicking back in line with the hip. And we'll switch our core on even more here by lifting our elbow in line with our ear, reaching forward. Take one more big breath in here. And to release, drop the belly, lift the chest, draw the shoulders back. Inhale. And exhale, press up into a cat pose. Release into a wide-legged child's pose. Seat bones come to the heels. Knees are wide apart. Taking a deep breath in. And as you exhale, coming out of child's pose back into tabletop. This time, lengthening out the right foot and pressing through the heel to open up our calf a little bit here. Rolling onto the inside edge of our left foot. Reaching the left hand up towards the sky, big stretch. Circling the left hand back down to the ground and picking up the left heel so that it's in line with the left hip. Reaching the right arm forward once you've found your balance. Flattening out the back and using our core to hold us here. And releasing your shin and your hand to the mat once more. Inhale, cow pose, and exhale to cat pose. Bring the big toes together, knees apart, and release everything down to the mat for child's pose. Coming out of child's pose, bring the knees together so the hip width distance apart, and press into your heels to stretch the soles of your feet before gently coming up into downward facing dog. Keep as much bend in the knees as you need to keep the back straight, and fingertips are spread for maximum support from our hands. From here, inhale to lift the heels, and as you exhale, come into plank. Bend in the knees and send the seat bones high for downward dog once more. We're going to roll our bodies like this a few times. Inhale, lift the heels. Come into a plank. And exhale, bend the knees, coming up into downward dog. Exhale, plank. Bend the knees, downward facing dog. Here, once more, lift the toes into plank, and exhale, push back up into downward facing dog. Right heel sweeps up and back, bend in the knee and see if you can stack your hips. Your heel is coming to your glutes. Bringing the knee in towards the chest, plant the right foot down in between the hands. Lift the chest, draw the shoulders back. If you are building strength in this pose, variation on screen for you now. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, press through the front foot. The back heel comes towards the earth. The variation for this is half split pose, and sending the chest and the forehead towards the knee. For triangle forward fold. Inhale to bring yourself back to runner's lunge. Step the right foot back, keep the core strong. As we exhale, we're coming down into dolphin arms, so we're on our forearms here. Keep the core tight and the back level. And exhale to lower the hips down to the mat, uncurl the toes. And we'll come into Sphinx pose. Curling the toes back under. Walk your hands back towards your knees. You can either spread your knees wide like I am or keep them close together for child's pose. Walking your hands back in towards you, curling under the toes, find your downward dog. Inhaling to lift off the heels onto the tiptoes, rolling the body forward into plank, and exhaling to bring ourselves back up to downward facing dog. And number 2. Exhaling to press back up. Again, inhale to lift the heels, send the gaze forward. And rolling back up into downward facing dog. This time the left foot sweeps up and back. Bend in the knees, stack the hips to open towards the left-hand side. Draw the knee in towards the chest and plant the foot by the left hand. Coming up onto the fingertips, draw the shoulders back. And ready, press into the front foot. Keep your chest close to your thigh as you straighten out into triangle forward fold. Exhaling to come back down into runner's lunge. Plant the palms, step back into high plank, release onto the forearms. And holding here for one moment. Keep the glutes nice and tight. And you're free. Release the hips to the mat, uncurl the toes, Sphinx pose. Bringing your toes together, knees wide apart. Walking the hands back to find child's pose. And as we breathe here for a moment, just bringing to mind your intention that you set at the start of this practice for how you would like to show up today in a way that best serves you. And when you're ready, bringing yourself up into a comfortable seated position to close the practice with me today. Bringing your hands to heart center, closing the eyes, take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale, sigh through the mouth. And gently opening your eyes. If you have time, follow with a meditation. It will do you a world of good. I'll see you next time. Bye.